Hey, welcome, folks, to this edition of the 700 Club. It's getting closer and closer to Christmas, and Mr. Trump is down enjoying Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Other people, the president is hanging 10 out there in Hawaii, and some of us are still working. The dragnet is out. Europe has launched a massive manhunt for the suspect in Berlin's Christmas market attack. He's an asylum seeker with ties, guess what, to Islamic extremists. And he sneaked into Germany along with a wave of refugees.
Authorities say the suspect is violent and armed. As Mark Martin reports, the attack is igniting new debate over Muslim refugees.
Authorities launched a massive manhunt for this man, 24-year-old Anis Amri of Tunisia, the suspect in Monday's truck attack at a crowded Christmas market in Berlin. 12 people lost their lives and nearly 50 were injured. ISIS has claimed responsibility. President-elect Donald Trump condemned the attack after a top-secret security briefing, saying he's been right all along about the danger from certain immigrants.
It's not an attack on humanity. That's what it is. It's an attack on humanity. And it's got to be stopped.
Trump seemed to suggest an openness to going forward with his campaign pledge to temporarily ban immigrants from certain Islamic countries from entering the United States. Amri came to Germany under its open door policy in 2015 seeking asylum, but investigators say he is a convicted criminal and German terror officials have had their eye on him for some time. German leaders tried to deny Amri asylum because of concerns about his ties to radical Islamists and allegations involving petty crime, but they were unable to deport him because he lacked the documents to prove he was Tunisian. Protesters in Berlin say the attack is the result of the German government's immigration policy, critics accusing German Chancellor Angela Merkel of allowing in hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers allegedly without being properly vetted.
Wie viele Leute müssen es sein?
This protester holds up a sign that reads, "Merkel has to go." He refers to European victims of terror, saying, how many people does it have to be? 100, 200, 1,000? Meanwhile, leaders in Berlin are opening up Christmas markets once again under heavy security, encouraging people to get back to normal. These visitors say they don't want to let the terrorists win.
If everyone stays away, they're winning.
Mark Martin, CBN News.
You know, Donald Trump was roundly criticized for talking about extreme vetting, but you have to do it. The Israelis have a system. They can, if you use the term profile, they know the kind of person who's going to blow up somebody, blow up an airplane, or bring terror. They know the people they're dealing with. The fact is that most of them are Muslim. It doesn't change the fact that in order to stop it, you have to identify who the potential perpetrators are. And they've got it down to a fine science. But we're so politically correct here, we can't do that. But it's time we come to the fact that we must do that. We must identify the radical Islamic mosques, the radical Islamic cells, the people wherever they are, especially if they are criminals. And they cannot be allowed in this country. So the idea of open borders and people flooding across the border and more and more and more and sanctuary cities is nonsense. And there's going to come a showdown very shortly between these cities that say, well, we think it's important that we allow criminals to come into our country from foreign lands, that's the noble thing to do. Well, that's nonsense. And the federal government has the right to assert its authority over immigration. And if these cities won't go along with that, well, it won't be anything wrong to take away the money from them, from the federal government. And then they can understand how their noble pursuit of sheltering criminals pays off. Well, Donald Trump has also picked 2 more members of his economic team. Their assignments are to improve trade and get the government off the backs of businesses. Ephraim Graham has that.
Pat, Donald Trump has made 2 new picks for his economic team, signaling once again how much he plans to shake up policy in Washington. Trump is creating a new National Trade Council to help spur industrial growth by reshaping trade agreements. He's named economist Peter Navarro to run that trade council. Navarro has endorsed a hardline approach toward relations with China. Trump has also named billionaire investor Carl Icahn as an advisor on regulatory reform. His job will be to slash government regulations that have crippled American businesses. Today, the Trump camp also announced his campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, will officially serve inside the White House as an advisor to the president. Pat?
Peter Navarro, when I was running for president, by the way, advised me some. He was an expert in that time on Social Security, and he had all the facts and the figures. It was brilliant. He was showing how our Social Security system was going bankrupt. Now, that was years ago. He was way ahead of the time. He had exactly the numbers to prove it, and lo and behold, we're getting closer and closer and closer to the fact that the Social Security Trust Fund is almost bankrupt. But he had it a long time ago and urged at that time a reform of the Social Security system, and people didn't listen to him. But he's a very smart guy, and so to see Donald Trump picking people of that stature is very important. Ephraim?
Pat, Indonesian police have thwarted a Christmas suicide bombing plot, capturing 3 bomb makers. It is just the latest reminder of what Christians in Muslim countries face during Christian holidays. From Egypt to Pakistan this Christmas, many are concerned for the safety of their worship services. Gary Lane has the story from Lahore, Pakistan.
In the wake of the Christmas market attack in Berlin and the recent slaughter of Egyptian Christians as they worshipped in Cairo, Christians around the world are bracing themselves for more possible attacks this Christmas. In Pakistan, Christians are a tiny minority in the Muslim-dominated country. This will be the first Christmas the Amants will spend without the youngest member of their family. 16-year-old Wasib was an athlete who enjoyed playing cricket. He loves studying math and English and planned to eventually earn a PhD in engineering. Last spring, Wasib was killed in a terrorist bomb attack against Pakistani Christians celebrating Easter in a popular city park.
I loved my son. He didn't do anything against anyone. They killed him because they knew he was a Christian, but we forgive them in the love of Christ.
The Amant family was not alone. 75 people were killed and hundreds injured when the Islamic extremists detonated a suicide vest packed with explosives. Another 16-year-old Christian, Sharoon Patra, was also among the dead. CBN News talked with his parents.
My son Sharoon was the most obedient of my children. I was always thought he'd be the one to take care of me when I get old. But we know from the gospel, as Jesus forgives them, we must also forgive those who did this.
18-year-old son Irfan survived the attack, but hot shrapnel from the blast tore into his back and stomach, damaging nerves surrounding his intestinal tract.
God spared me so I can serve him. I want to be a missionary.
Pakistani Christians are on edge, taking precautions against more attacks this Advent season. It seems Muslim jihadists love to strike them at Christmas and Easter. Islamic terrorists also struck this church, Christ Church, in Johannabad, Pakistan, in Easter 2015. 14 people were killed in 2 explosions that also struck St. John's Church. Wilson Chowdhury of UK Pakistani Christians says attacks against churches and the persecution of Christians will continue in Pakistan as long as school children are taught to hate non-Muslims.
Christians and other minorities are demonized, they're caricatured. In the case of Christians, they're often labeled as spies of the West, and this is in the national curriculum.
Gary Lane, CBN News, Lahore, Pakistan.
Christians under attack. Pat?
Well, just think of how much money we still give to Pakistan. They're supposed to be our friends, but the Secret Service over there was hiding the leader of Al-Qaeda in the open, in a sense. We finally got to him, but it wasn't because of the help of the Pakistani secret police. And I have been several times to Pakistan, and at the time I found very warm and friendly people. But somehow the Islamists have seemingly gained the upper hand in Pakistan. Now, they have nuclear weapons, quite an arsenal, I might add, of nuclear weapons. And this is an explosive area, but they've been helping the Taliban in Afghanistan, and yet at the same time they're receiving aid from the United States. So Donald Trump comes out and says, no way, you're not going to get money from us if you're going to use that money to kill us. Well, that's fairly good wisdom, But the truth is, Christians, we need to stand with these people. They're suffering. And the goal of these jihadis, these radical Islamists, is to cleanse the entire Middle East of Christianity. This is a war against Christianity. There is no question about it. They're against the Jews, they're against the Christians, and now they've added the Hindus. They want to get them too. These people are evil. They want to kill, and they want to kill the innocent. They don't just want to go into war against armies. They want to kill the unprotected, innocent people. So they attack large assemblies of innocent civilians instead of military. And that's what they're looking for. So when people congregate at times of Easter or Christmas, that's when they come in with their bombs and try to blow them up. It's a horrible thing, and those bombs are very deadly, and they can kill people within a significant radius of them. We need to pray for those Christians that they're suffering, and they're in the birthplace of Christianity over there in the Middle East. And here is an evil force that wants to destroy them. And if you look at the book of Revelation, you want to see the Antichrist. It's here, and it's called Islam. Ephraim?
Pat, here in the U.S., there's an ongoing debate this time of year. Should businesses say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays? A new survey shows Americans are split on this question along party lines, and that political divide is also affecting some relationships online this Christmas. Jennifer Wishon has the story from Washington.
Merry Christmas. Happy Holidays. Polling shows Americans are split right down the middle when it comes to which greeting is appropriate.
Half the country saying we should plant our flag and sort of call it Christmas and say Merry Christmas and kind of hang on to the explicitly Christian part of the holiday. And half the country saying, well, even if most of us are Christian, we should kind of have our rhetoric match the changing reality, and out of respect for pluralism, we should just, it's okay, we'll say Happy Holidays.
Jones and his team at the Public Religious Research Institute also broke it down along political lines. 66% of Democrats say Happy Holidays is better, 67% of Republicans prefer Merry Christmas, and 48% of independents agree with Republicans.
Republicans are twice as likely as Democrats to say that the holiday is a very religious holiday for them.
Well, we know that Christmas is a time when families are getting together. Oftentimes, family members who don't share each other's political ideas. Are we seeing that families are trying to avoid each other this time of year?
Yeah. Very, very few Americans. Only 5% of Americans, in fact, said they were actually changing their plans to avoid, the uncle that they knew they would have a fight with.
What about social media? Who's getting unfriended out there?
It turns out that more than 1 in 10 Americans say they had blocked or unfriended a close friend or family member over the election, but it's uneven when we look underneath that. The real split is over gender and partisanship. So even though like 13% of Americans say they did this, 30% of Democratic women say they have blocked or unfriended someone.
The word holiday is derived from holy day, and the Christmas holiday marks the holy day when Christ was born. I'm Jennifer Wishon. For all of us here at CBN News in Washington, Merry Christmas.
No Christmas without Christ. Merry Christmas, Pat.
Merry Christmas to you. But, ladies and gentlemen, isn't it amazing, though, that there's a split in our country, not only on politics, but on religion, and those who are on the left, the so-called progressives, do not buy into the Christian narrative or the theocratic narrative that there is a God, that this nation was founded by people who believed in God, and that our institutions presuppose, as the Supreme Court said, the existence of a supreme being. That's the kind of thing. There's not one single state constitution that doesn't mention God. Not one. Out of 50 states, every one says something about God. And yet the liberals, the progressives, want to take that away. Why? Because without God, they can do whatever they want to do. And they want to throw off the restraints. And you read the Psalms, he that sits in the heavens will laugh him to scorn. And they say, let us throw off his shackles. Let's throw off his restraints. That's what they're doing. They don't want any God. They don't want any morality. They don't want anything to keep them from whatever lifestyle they want to have. And the Republicans, on the other hand, are saying that We believe in traditional morality, and we know that a nation must have some moral fiber or it'll go to pieces. So anyhow, that's what we're facing, but it's amazing how those polls come out, isn't it, Terry?
Yeah, which history confirms.
Amen. Well, you know, the communists, I mean, it goes back to the French Revolution. Voltaire said, "Écraser l'infâme," crush the infamous one. He hated religion. He hated organized religion. And the French Revolution ushered in, they had a statue of reason in the Notre Dame Cathedral. And so they wanted to worship reason. And look what happened. You have the terror, you have the awful beheading, the guillotine, and all the horrible things that took place. And that led to the French Revolution, and on down we go. And somebody excuse me, into the Communist Revolution. Communards is the same idea. So we're having it here. It's the same so-called progressive mentality that say, let's throw off the restraints of religion. Big mistake.